So check out here. You see the black line. And some people say this is just some sort of shadow effect, which it totally could be, but it's still pretty strange when you see the black line moving in front of the trail before it's even sprayed. It's kind of like a guide or something. See, the sun's over there. I don't know. I think they call that the chemtrail shadow. Well, going out for my grand rising walk here, and the sky is just covered in nanoparticulates, and it's definitely a sun block effect. I mean, I'm looking at a trail sprayed directly through the sun, over the sun, and so take a vitamin D3 supplement. Probably a good idea days like this. And just try to get out there when you can, when the sun is out, and get that vitamin D going naturally, and work out. It's good to move the lymph system, jump around. Since this whole thing's gone down, I haven't wanted to go to the gym, because it's just, the whole thing is ridiculous. It's a bunch of masked people. Does not equate to fitness in my book. And they're in a tent outside now. Is that the safe zone? Okay. It's just ludicrous. But everyone, they try to say, stay safe. That's the new line. I think you should try to stay sane, everyone. Try to stay sane. And if you can do it without getting hooked on alcohol or opioids, not smoking too much herb, if you can do it with living in the present moment, I think it'll help to do something empowering. I like to herbalize at night a little bit, little vape action, sativa. Always been a sativa guy. It's always helped me sleep. I don't like doing it during the day, because I don't feel like my social skills are on par with where they need to be. I start to overanalyze things, and I start to you ever get that weird thing where you're looking at someone, you're listening to them, but you're also seeing how you look to them? Like, am I staring at this person too much? And when you're talking close, you're like, which eyeball do I look at? Do I look at the right one or the left one? Or both? Do I look at the middle? Do I look at the nose? These are all the weird things that go through my head when I'm talking to people, when I'm herbalized. So I just prefer to do it at night, when the day is done, sort of thing. But it's important to do something that is going to empower you. If you can find something that's going to empower you, like last night, I was tired, I did a batch, I was on my feet a lot of the day, and I just wanted to have my kombucha herbalized. And then, I find myself like going into this pattern that I've been kind of programmed to go into. Kobe. And that is kick your feet up and watch TV. And then, you watch TV, and there's no real substance there. It's all just stuff that's going to ultimately degrade your moral character the more you engage in it. There's some sports, but who wants to watch a basketball game with everyone wearing masks and distanced apart and weird shit? Just corporate advertising everywhere. Can't even watch sports anymore. I like watching football, but again, all the masks, it's just ridiculous. But I find myself sitting down watching, and then, you know, just kind of disgusted at like, ugh, what am I doing? So then I got up and started reading. There's a cool looking crow. Then I started reading the Constitution, and I recommend everyone read the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is literally what we're going through right now. Obviously, it's a contract, and it was between essentially the states of the Union, the colonies, and, you know, it was between them and Great Britain, essentially. Hey, because the King of England, had done all these usurpations and violations. And if you look at all the stuff they list, again, it reminded me of as being a contract. If you read the Declaration of Independence, you know, get yourself a pocket constitution. They're like $1.50, something like that. Get a bunch, hand them out. If you read that, it's very empowering, because it's exactly what we're going through right now. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And it reminds me of the affidavits and the presumptive letters that I'm sending out to public health officials and corporations who are violating the laws of the land, the Constitution. And what you do in these presumptive letters and affidavits that's similar to the Declaration of Independence is you list all the charges and claims, all the violations. You have to get it down. You have to declare what is being done to you. And now just this act alone is very powerful, empowering. And I felt empowered just reading it. And then, you know, I started reading my presumptive letter. The latest one is to a local store here in town that won't let us shop without wearing a mask. And it's empowering, I'm telling you. But all those charges and claims of what the King of Britain was doing back then, King of England, is the exact same thing that we're seeing with our de facto government now. And probably ruled still by the crown. I believe USA Inc., this corporate structure that came into place pretty much after the Civil War with the Act of 1871, when our organic constitution was usurped and essentially replaced with the corporate constitution. And then we became USA Inc., and we were essentially collateral for that bankruptcy, and we received sort of a bailout. You know that term, because we're always getting bailed out now. A bailout from Rothschild. We were broke after the Civil War, and so then we became sort of collateral. USA Inc., this government structure, became collateral for that bankruptcy, for the debt, for the loan. You know, we're essentially have been controlled by bankers ever since. And so in the Declaration of Independence, you see, obviously, you know, this was 1787's Constitution done, but so a little bit before, about 100 years before, they had listed all the claims and charges of why they're declaring their independence, because of what the King of England has done. He's raided their shores. He's massacred, violated all the rights. I mean, you name it, he's done it. And that's exactly what burned their towns. That's one line in there, reminding me of these Agenda 2030 fires. Nothing changes. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And so it's a good idea to do things at night that'll feel, you know, when you're kind of settled down, that'll empower you, rather than just zoning out and essentially just not really doing anything productive. So reading the Constitution is something you could do. You could write a presumptive letter and an affidavit to anyone who's taken away your rights. Go get it notarized, and then send it out registered mail. And you know, I think this is the way to go. I think this is the way to go if we're going to change anything. Is we have to use essentially their system against them. So their system, you know, there's different jurisdictions when you're on the land, air, or water. So the land jurisdiction is equity and common law, and the air jurisdiction is trust, and the water jurisdiction is contract. So right now they've essentially gotten us all on the water jurisdiction, where it's contracts, admiralty, maritime law, and commerce, trade, and we can essentially use their system against them and get them into a new contract with us. A new contract where we're setting, we're creating the contract that we want to be in. And this goes back to the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. We need to declare our independence. And we have to use it, we have to do it in a contract form. And we need witnesses, we need, so that's why, we're doing affidavits, because an unrebutted affidavit stands as truth and fact in court. Stands as truth in law and fact in court. And so just think if we had everyone essentially, first of all, knowing their rights, because if you don't know what your rights are, you don't have any rights. Okay, so that's what we've gotten into as a society now, is we don't really know our rights. We think that we don't even know the distinction between legal and lawful. So legal can always change. Legal is just a construct, and it can change depending on the government and their new policy and who's in office, etc. But lawful goes back to lawful has more power and is more defined. And again, law, think of law: land, air, water. Land jurisdiction, common law. Okay, that's natural law, God's law, laws of the land. So common law, you're not breaking any rules as long as you're not breaking any laws as long as you don't violate the rights of another. And it's about property on the land. Land is about property. And so things you own, things you can touch, things you can, your kids are your offspring. That's your property. Your car, your house, your body is your property. Okay, so that's why I said land is equity. And so if you're not violating the property rights of another sentient being, and this does go to animals too. Animals are sentient beings from the land. Even the ones on the water have the right to their autonomy, body autonomy, their property. That's the only thing they own is their property, their body. And anyways, there's more on that with Mark Passio and his natural law seminars. Really good info there. They took that off my old account, so I don't have a way of reposting that. But anyways, going back to the land. So land is property rights. Common law is, as long as you're not violating the property rights of another, there is no crime committed. There needs to be an injured party, okay? And then when you get on to water, admiralty, maritime, that's trade and commerce. So that's a little bit different. They're dealing with contracts. When you're dealing with someone else who you're trading with, you're making a deal with, you're going to write out a contract. And then in the air, it's more trust. It's stuff of the mind. A trust is a figment of your mind. So So you can kind of see how all these things combine together. But when we're on the land, wherever we're born, as you know, I'm an American state national. I'm not there fully yet. It's a little bit of a process to change your status. But when you're on the land, common law protects your rights. But if you get pulled into the jurisdiction of the water, you know, through the birth certificate and the driver's license, Social Security, all these things, they have pulled us into their jurisdiction, and they've done it throughout our whole life from the time we were born. And so when we're in the water jurisdiction, we're in that common law doesn't really apply to us, and so that's why we're seeing things erode as far as like our rights, and there's lawlessness because we don't know our rights. So we don't know how to protect them because we don't even know who we are. We don't know our status. We don't know the jurisdiction we're under. Now it's all coming a little more clear. So it's a lot to take in. But what you can do is, you know, that we know that they operate under contract. So if we're going to do contracts, let's create a new contract with them like they did with the Declaration of Independence. And so you can send out affidavits to anyone who's violating your rights, list the claims and charges like they did in the Declaration of Independence, state that you are protected by the constitutions, the laws of the land, common law, natural law, and they're going to owe you a lot of money if they continue to violate your unalienable rights. These are not rights given to you by a government. These are rights that are given to you by your Creator. And so just coming into this gnosis is a big step in reclaiming